Hey everyone, welcome back to Haven for Heroes. Here we are in the shop, No Comics for Old Men, the San Diego Comic-Con edition, part two. Yeah, so we got all the way up to Thursday. So now I just have to do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all in this one video. So stay tuned, keep to the end. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have anything super interesting at the end, but I would appreciate it if you stayed to the end. We are less than 400 subscribers away from 5,000. 5,000, we don't get anything. There's no plaque or anything exciting. It's just a milestone we'd like to make. So if you could help us out by sharing, that would be fantastic. I think that is one of the best ways that we get some traction and more subscribers. So thanks. So Friday, I got up pretty early and got there as early as possible. I wanted to get on the floor very early. The big difference, another difference, not the big difference, but another difference to New York is there's not a really long line. They have a lot of doors to get in, so there's a lot of places to enter from. So it's not this, never-ending, non-moving line that you're standing in. I felt very easy to get in and out of San Diego Comic-Con Convention Center. You didn't have to eat at the convention center because everything was so close. Although New York has some really great food trucks, San Diego has a lot of great restaurants, and you can just walk less than a mile and lots of different types of food. And I talked about some of the places I ate on part one. So if you haven't watched that, go back. So I got to meet a lot of small publishers and independent artists on Friday. That was kind of my concentration. So I met guys from, it's called Midnight Factory. They do small press, independent horror books. They looked really cool. They were well done. Their logo's really cool. Hoping that they get in with a small distributor. They may not want to do that. They kind of went around and were kind of like acting like they couldn't get into one. So there's a little controversy about that, whether or not they could get into one, because when I was, they said they tried to apply to Filbo and that there was no room. Filbo, I asked, through a friend, I asked if that was true, and he said absolutely not, that they were still accepting small press. So there was a little bit of dust up about that. I'm sure that, they maybe don't want to be distributed only by themselves, and rather than just say that, they might have made an excuse, who knows. But their books looked really good. Again, a lot of this stuff you don't have a chance to read. I still haven't had a chance to read the samples they gave me. I bought one of their books, and they did have a small sampler, which I haven't had a chance to read, even though I've been back for a while now. So yeah, and this video is a little late. Yeah, I know. But, life goes on. Store has to be run. The mess of stuff we always have going on. I also got to meet a family that put together a book, which is based on, they made their grandparents superheroes. And guess what, folks? I'm old and I cannot remember the name of it, but it was really cute that a whole family had put together a story that had the grandfather and grandmother as the heroes in the book. And it seemed pretty cool. They were really great to talk to, and the book was actually really well done. I ran into dealers. I talked to a lot of dealers. Big Clutch was there. He had a nice corner booth. I didn't get to talk to him much because he was swamped, so that was good for him. I heard he had a really good con, and that's fantastic. We're able to, a bunch of us, to get around his booth and kind of hang out and take some pictures. We didn't take a full group photo, at least I did with my phone. We didn't take a full group photo, so I don't think I have it to put up. But trust me, there's evidence, there's proof out there. It was kind of a busy day just talking business. I went around and met with a lot of the people who were selling stuff other than comics, toys, And now I did that throughout the rest of the weekend. Like that was kind of my mission, to find stuff I could get for the store. So I went to somebody that was doing rings and earrings and like stuff that I don't carry at all. And we had a really good conversation. I'm going to be contacting them later this year about what they're doing for next year and possibly what they're unloading at the end of the year. So that's possible. So that's something interesting for our store to help our growth. We found a company that's making, and I'm bad with names, I'll probably find the name and send it to the editor so they can put it in here. A toy company that's just in Jersey. They're really only like an hour and a half from me. I probably could pick up my product. But there are a lot of guys that used to work for McFarlane who had a factory over in Jersey in that general area. And now they make these really cool 10 and 12 inch action figures, really super, super high end. I didn't think the price was too crazy. They're not cheap, but like maybe a little bit more than a Marvel Legends, and then like 10 times more posable, more pieces, hand changing, head changing, weapon changing. So like they're for your D&D characters. So like you can get a character that's quote unquote a paladin, but it comes with all kinds of costume change kind of pieces that you could say, well, it's really a cleric or it's actually a fighter, you know. So really, really cool. I have to go in more depth with them. I have to have a meeting with them about carrying their stuff, if they give territory. There's a lot of stuff when you're carrying stuff. So like Games Workshop, this is a little bit of stuff for, maybe it would have been more for how to open a comic shop, but here's a little business thing. If you're getting a pricey item to carry in your shop, the company should give you territory. You know, at least 50 miles. I mean, 50 miles is not a lot. Where Games Workshop, there is no territory. A guy can open across the street from you. Now, I don't mind competition. Competition is fine because, especially in used items, you can lower your price, raise your price higher, change the way your store looks or acts. But when you're talking about an item that has an MSRP, it's very tough to compete, especially one that's really expensive like Games Workshop. That's for people who don't know, that's Warhammer 40K. You know, a lot of times you're floor planning that. What floor planning is, and I know I've gone off a way tangent, but floor planning is where you don't pay for the product up front. They finance it and you only pay like 1% of the value every month until you sell it. A lot of car dealerships are done that way, and cars are very expensive. So give you a little idea. That stuff, I mean, you really have to have a lot of traffic, and you have to, like, that has to be your focus. That's why I don't carry it. I don't play the game and I don't paint models. So I don't have enough knowledge and focus in that to really sell their product at a rate where it's financially beneficial to me. So enough of that. Back to San Diego Comic-Con. There was a considerable amount of games at, you know, people launching games, not only board games and card games, but also digital games, phone games. DC had a whole part of their display was all of their Worlds Collide game that they just launched, which I was playing. Kind of took time off of it because, like doom scrolling, it takes up too much of my time. I got other stuff to do. When I went to go do this part, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, going to visit all the different, it was a lot less fun. And because you're focused, you're not really enjoying everything that's going on around you. You know, everything kind of blends into the background and you're just focusing actually on the displays. Here's a little critique. I think a lot of businesses, some had amazing displays and some were very lackluster in the way that they came to the table, kind of just, oh, here's our product. No type of setup for it, no kind of display that would draw you into their table. Yeah, and as far as a business, I mean, you know, you have a business should have marketing and building these tables and these displays should be part of the marketing. Some people did it phenomenally. You know, DC's booth, I mean, it didn't excite me because they weren't really focused on comics. They had a very big progressive ad. It was a very cool setup. So like, they had Action Comics #1 set up. They had the car hanging, but it was like a paper car. But in a photo, it looked like you were on the cover of a comic book and you could like be throwing it like Superman did. But that was a progressive ad. Then they had their video game, which the company that actually made their video game, they were in charge of that. So yeah, there was not a lot of comic book. Right now, their comics are doing, like the whole Absolute is doing really well, which, you know, a lot of my dealers say that it's not affecting their regular issues. I don't see that. I actually see that All In is selling better than it was when it first came out because of Absolute. I'm getting a lot of call for back issues of the beginning of the All In series, where now that people are deep and into Absolute, and they see that DC is going to do a crossover in October, they want to catch up. So they're coming back. So right off the bat, it didn't do anything, but it seems to be moving now. And with that, I thought the San Diego Comic-Con should have focused for DC, should have had at least a portion of their booth focused on their comics going forward. Now, their presentation to retailers was very good, as I spoke about in the last part. I can go into more detail, just watch the first one. It also goes, when you're going to a con, it goes by really fast. You know, maybe like the first hour, you're like, oh, I've only been here for an hour, and you feel like you've been there longer. But then you look at your watch and you go, what, why is everybody's leaving? It's already 7 o'clock. It's weird. There's a time warp that happens. You get talking to people, you get invested in exciting things, and it just flies. Having a good time, it goes by. Saturday was like the big day. There was so much going on. All the dealers were really, really busy. And that was great to see. Whether I'm working the con or not, the business of comics is an ecosystem. I keep preaching this and preaching this. Really, a lot of businesses are ecosystems and need other businesses and need even in the same business to do the right thing, so they grow readers, they grow collectors, and those collectors then buy from, you know, they move around the country. People move around. So they might move into my neighborhood, and then I've got a new customer because, you know, place A, B, or C did it. Or they were going to cons and then they decided to be a comic book reader because of conventions, and they were going for movie stars but got caught up in all the comics. It's a lot of things. So seeing them do well, seeing the conventions do well, the dealers at the conventions do well, that tells me going forward from there that the comic industry is actually in a really good place, and that it is moving forward and it is getting better, and we're bringing people back. I've recently had a bunch of customers who said, I haven't read comics in 10, 15 years, and they wanted to come back. That is a fantastic sign. The other great sign is I've had some really young readers come in, comparatively, because most of the readership now is in the mid to late 30s, all the way into 60s or 70s, that are still reading books. But these were not, I don't say they were like 5 to 10, but they were like 15 to 20. And man, one, they usually have a little bit of an expendable income if they have a little job at 15 or 16. And then 20, they're out of high school. They probably have their first full-time job, and they're maybe going to college. But even even though that's expensive, people say the comics are expensive, but really they're, a Starbucks venti, like you can get a comic book for $4.99 and 50 cents if you come to the right shop. There's plenty of good reading in that. But if you want to read the new stuff, a lot of it's $4.99, $5.99, and people keep saying it's expensive. Man, a consumable drink like from Starbucks, $7, $10, and it's gone. Like a comic book, you can go back and read it again. You can trade it with a buddy. You know, we take trades. A lot of people don't do trades, but we take trades. So if you keep your comics in really good condition, you can bring them in at 50% of the value for trade. Look, for every 2 books, you get a brand new book. That's not a bad deal. So we have to find ways to keep bringing these new kids in. Conventions are a great way. Do I think maybe we're coming to a saturation of conventions, that there's like almost no room to have a convention between people doing conventions other than comic books? There's game boarding conventions, and then there's horror conventions. Like, you know, you've been watching, you see all the advertising for them. There's ones that are just everything all in ones, collector cons and stuff like that. But still great for the business, as long as they're getting people to go to the conventions and enjoy themselves. It's going to help our businesses in the comic shops. So Saturday was basically me just going around and looking for stuff to talk to people about on Sunday. A lot of that. We just kept, and you know, you walk it 5 or 6 times. Believe it or not, you walk down an aisle and you're going to miss something. While you're looking to the right, you might walk 2 or 3 tables, and then when you look back, you're like, oh, there's nothing over there for me to look at. But then you walk it a second time and you're like, well, I'll go on the left side now because I didn't do it the other time. You're like, oh, I would have missed this had I just not come back to this aisle. So there was a lot of that. Labubus were everywhere. People were carrying them. There was only one place selling real Labubus. There was a lot of, as my buddy Dennis says, Lafufus instead of Labubus, because of the F for fake. So they're not truly fake, not really knockoffs. I mean, they're a similar toy. They look very much like a real Labubu. They have different ears usually and slightly different faces. That crowd, if you don't want to pay $60 or $80 for a real one, you can get one for $20 to $40, you know, half price or better. So they were flying off the shelves. Doing a lot of volume, remember volume and margins. I'm sure the Labubus have a lot of margin. Right now they have a lot of volume because everybody wants a real one. But there was a lot of volume involved in the lower price ones. I'm sure they cost next to nothing to make. So that is a very profitable, either the Lafufus or the Labubus are very profitable. So I saw a lot of that. I don't want to carry them either way. My buddy Dennis is doing fantastic with them. And my buddy Jesse has applied several times to carry the actual Labubus, and he's been turned down. Which, you know, I think that they're just trying to hoard it to their own stores instead of market it out to anybody else. I'm sure they'll open the floodgates once the craze crests, right? I don't know how long, I don't know if Labubus will have the length or the longevity of Funko. Funko has kind of crested and is coming down the other side. You've seen all their financials and everything. Funko had, again, a huge booth. They do great at conventions. They're still active at a convention with special items, Comic-Con exclusives that they have there, getting in line. The lines were still there, so they're not completely done. I think if you go next year and there is no Funko at San Diego or New York, that will be a telltale sign. But they still sell in my store. It's just nobody's coming in and trying to, like, looking on their phone for if we have a rare one that we didn't get, or nobody's collecting them for value. People are collecting them for just the love of it, just the characters that they like, to have a representation, which is fine. It makes it a great collectible. And they're still at the cons, so they're still relevant. So don't worry about it. If you like them, just keep getting them. And go to a convention, you know. I sometimes laugh about, you know, I mean, logically, you know, the convention charges you a ticket fee, a daily ticket fee. You can get one of, you know, all 5 days for a discounted per day, but they're charging you to go in and buy stuff. I always thought that was a little crazy. There is a lot of stuff going on the con. The other thing is you can just meet up with a lot of friends. right? If friends are going to this convention and you're all from different areas where you've made friends online somehow, that was what was so great about San Diego Comic-Con, hanging out with all the people that I've been talking to on YouTube for, you know, multiple years, 4, 5, 6 years. I got to first meet Brian down in Baltimore Comic-Con, rep Baltimore. And I'm in New York, but I love the Baltimore Comic-Con. And I met Leg too, and some of the other guys at Baltimore. This time I was able to meet Jess. I didn't get to meet Jesse. Jesse didn't make it. But I got to meet Dennis and a lot of the other guys, Big Clutch I hadn't met before. And they're all just really solid, good guys that really love comics. And that's what made the convention for me. And then Sunday was really just like seriously boring business stuff. I didn't stay the whole day. We kind of decided to get out early and go enjoy San Diego. I don't know if I brought this up on last one. Maybe not, because I think Friday night was and I just got to go back to it. Ignition Press didn't have a booth at San Diego Comic-Con. What they did instead is they rented a building, empty business in downtown San Diego in the Gaslight District, and they turned it into an Ignition Press coffee house and bar. It's freaking mega cool. And they had a burlesque night with fancy drinks for all the VIP. It was crazy great. They're bringing back the book Beauty, which is going to be coming to Netflix. They have a new book come out called Voyeur, and I think that's where the burlesque thing came from. Their books look and feel fantastic. They have a, I would say a satin finish. They don't have a high gloss and they don't have a matte. It's somewhere in between where it has a little bit of a shine to it, but it has like a matte feel to it. The back of the book has a number on it. That number is the number in the print run it is. So you know, you're gonna know how many books were printed. You're gonna know which number of book you have. They're doing a lot of really different stuff that is great for collecting. I am really remiss that it took me so long to talk about them. If I didn't put it in the first video, yeah, I definitely needed to get it in this video. They did an incredible job with what I consider their booth, which was an actual business you could go into, take a break from the con, go walk a couple of blocks up to their spot, and get a cup of coffee and see the art. They had huge pieces of art on the wall. That this amazing artist painted this oil painting that in parts of it was reflective or transparent. They showed a film over the top. I don't have video of it. It is on the internet. I probably will have to find the link and put it in. I hopefully will get the link. If not, I will tell you about it in the description so that you can Google it and find it yourself, because it is well worth finding. Everybody thought it was an animation. I thought it was a television showing an animation, and it's not. It's an oil painting with light projected on it. And it's amazing, amazing. So that was probably one of the big highlights of the show, was the Ignition Press. Meeting all my friends, hanging out, and comics, you know, lots and lots of comics. So what I want you to do is keep reading comics. I think I told you everything. If I left anything out, remember it, I'll put it in another show. But this was part 2 of San Diego Comic-Con. No comics for old man style.